Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the editorial director of Brand Insider at Media Post, and welcome to our series, Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Megan Gillam. She is the Director of Marketing Operations and Brand Strategy at Kia America. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
Yeah, no, it's great to be with you. Last time we were together, we were at the automotive show, so we kept it with strategies and talking about, work. Whereas today we're going to talk about the other side of Megan. So I'm
Uh,
excited to learn more about you.
Great. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, first, I always like to kind of take from a little bit, even though it's not about Kia per se or your work, but Kia's slogan is movement that inspires. So in other words, me sort of inspiring consumers through experiences with Kia. I believe that was my take on it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But what I want
Great.
to ask you, and even if I am wrong, I'm still going to stick with this. I want to know what experience has most inspired you personally?
Oh, that's a great question. I think in terms of inspiration, so much of my inspiration has come from travel and movement and taking risks in and of themselves. Um, I've lived a lot of different places. I grew up in Detroit. I had an awesome opportunity in high school to go live in Japan as part of my father's job. I came out to California for grad school and stayed here for a while, and I was able to go back to Detroit and come back to California. So having that movement and the inspiration of learning from new places, in addition to personal travel, really inspires me and it keeps me grounded. It keeps me curious. So I think just travel and again, having that opportunity to live in different places, work in different places, really is a great motivator and inspiration to me.
Wow, I didn't know that about you. And so guess you could look at it in two ways. On one hand, you are experiencing all these different cultures, all these different people, but on the other hand, it must be a little daunting to keep going to places maybe you don't even know the language, perhaps, or unless you are very fluent, I'm not sure, but or the food's different, or it's starting over a little bit, I mean, I just how to
Yeah.
sort of approach that? And what's your feeling when you're like, are you feeling that angst and then you evolve into it or talk?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's ironic because I'm kind of an introvert, but I've gotten comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think just having those experiences, the more you have them, the better it feels and the less intimidated you feel by it. Just even over the last 10 years or so of my life, I think back to experiences that would have maybe brought panic to me or made me feel really nervous or got quiet. And now I just, having had more experiences, I feel more confident. So whenever I get into a situation where maybe I'm a little bit afraid of making a move or saying, gosh, that's not what I know. I know that it's going to ultimately get to me to a place where I'm more confident and have a broader perspective on the world. So I think I love change, probably more than I should. I'm always up for a new challenge. Sometimes I regret them, but in the short term, but in the long term, it's always worth it.
Yeah, no, it sort of brings you to the place where you are now. So I think that's always a good thing.
Exactly.
I'm curious, is there one place in particular that stands out? And it may not be the best place you've been at this moment, but at the time it felt that way, or just the experience was just really incredible for you.
Yeah, my favorite place, and I wouldn't say, let me back up. I don't necessarily think it's my favorite place. If I could, just go anywhere right now, it probably wouldn't be this place. But I had the opportunity to travel to Istanbul, Turkey, several years ago. And it's such a fascinating city. It's one of, I think it's the only city in the world that actually sits on two different continents. So part of it's in Asia and part of it's in Europe. And for anybody that's traveled there, they know that it is just this incredibly it's sort of intoxicating, fascinating blend of multiple different regions. It's a little bit Asia, it's a little bit Middle East, it's a little bit Europe, and everything just comes together in this sort of delight for the senses. And I remember, even though I had traveled the world before, going there, it just felt so rich and um, fascinating. So I think that was kind of just such a neat place in terms of bringing so many different cultures together. So that was
Yeah,
really a highlight for me.
definitely sounds cool. Was that pleasure or was it
Yeah.
oh, it was. So just
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah. I went to it was a great trip. I traveled with a friend of mine and we just wanted to go see Turkey. My father had actually done some work in Turkey for a while, so he and my mother had traveled there a lot and they said it's great. So I was like, "Oh, let's give it a try." So we went and we spent a few days in Germany on the way over and then we did a tour throughout Turkey and it ended in Istanbul. So yeah, it was vacation, but it was a good one.
Wow, that's awesome. So I'm very adventurous, like my go to Paris, like
Well,
not that
Paris is wonderful too.
it is,
Nothing
but
wrong
it's
with
not
Paris.
the beaten, not that, it's just, it's a little bit more of, it's not the go-to place by any means,
Yeah.
I'm aware of at least, not in my, so that's very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
So keeping with the experiences, in terms of with your team. So, and I'm not talking about like campaigns or things like that, but just what kind of experiences do you try to bring to your team to elevate them, to motivate them, to, just to inspire them?
Yeah, it's a good question. One of the challenges that we have within our team is we're very short-staffed. We run a very lean organization, and sometimes the day-to-day of what we need to get done from a task perspective doesn't enable us to spend the time thinking and reading and researching and learning that I wish we could. So one of the things that I try to encourage in my team is to take that time and sort of look more broadly, even if it's just outside of your individual area of the business to learn more about what's going on. I really believe it sounds a little bit cliche, but knowledge is power. So one of the things that I try to instill in my team is being as transparent as possible. And particularly now in the automotive industry, anybody who's in auto knows, well, actually most of the country, but in auto, the industry is so volatile right now. There's so much change, there's so much uncertainty. And a lot of what we're doing is scenario planning. And well, if this happens, then that, or if that happens, then this. But from an experience perspective, just really trying to give the team the latitude and the grace to take a step back and think and learn and make themselves a little bit more knowledgeable about what's going on, not only in our company, but also, outside in the industry.
Yeah. Well, it's in when you put it that way, I didn't really think of it that way in the sense that you sort of have to have all these different plan A, plan B, as you said, depending on what happens. What about in your personal life? Are you someone who has those backup plans? I mean, you said you do change a lot and maybe too much sometimes, which I can totally
Yeah.
at. But do you have plan Bs or something where you contingent plans? Okay, if this doesn't work, or do you kind of just dive in, this is going to work and we're going to, go from there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one of my favorite things is I'm a big Myers-Briggs proponent. I think I already mentioned that I'm an introvert. I'm also I'm an INTJ, and that J is judge, which means you're a planner. So my whole life I've been a planner. And I have to say, when I was a little bit younger, particularly earlier in my career, earlier in my life, I was much more focused on planning things out and making sure I'm prepared and looking not only toward what the next step is, but the step after that. As I've gotten a little bit more mature, and I've experienced more things, I'm less of a planner than I used to be. I think part of it is just the knowledge and the learning as I go that when things change, there'll be another opportunity. You have to look for it. You can't wait for it to come to you, whether that's an opportunity in terms of a marketing campaign, whether it's an opportunity in terms of a home or a partner or a friend. You just have to kind of be aware. So I think that I have evolved from a very dedicated planner to somebody who's a little bit more comfortable um, letting things flow as long as I'm aware of the environment around me. So I still like to plan. I like to plan a good vacation. I like to make sure that we're setting up our work and strategy is a key area of my role in our team. But things are going to change and we have to be ready and flexible for that. And I think the last few years in particular have underscored that. The last probably 5 years, right, is that we can't
Or,
always we can't always guarantee that what we think is going to happen is going to happen. So stay flexible and stay aware and things
yep,
generally have a way of working out.
yep, good. Not only obviously in the business side, but in the personal side as well. No, I totally agree. I think there can be planning, and I'm way like I want to kind of know what's happening, but at the same point, I am that person who sort of jumps in, and
Yeah.
I sort of, yeah, it's going to work. Then of course sometimes it doesn't, but I don't think that way until it doesn't, and then it's sort of like, All right, now what? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with that sense of it. Well, so
Yeah.
the younger planner, when you were graduating college and planning out your career in your mind, talk about that. I mean, I know that you've been in automotive for most of your career, Toyota, Ford, Hyundai. You
Yeah.
did a brief stint at Meta, and then now you're at Kia, back at Kia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious, I want you to get into like that kind of
Sure.
evolving, I would love to hear about. But just when you were graduating and planning out your future or thinking about your future, did you envision this? Like, what did you think? What did you plan? And how did you sort of get from that to where you are today at Kia?
Yeah, the short answer is absolutely not. I did not see this in my future when I graduated. I'll say it wasn't too long after I graduated that I did see this path, but I originally, when I graduated from college, I was going to go into sports marketing. And I did actually start there. My first job was in corporate marketing, sponsorships, and promotions for the organization that owned the Detroit Pistons. So I started working for an NBA team in an entertainment venue. I had a degree in sports management and communications. And I really, my goal, my plan down the road was to be an athletics director. I wanted
Really?
to work for a college and either focus on women's sports or non-revenue Olympic sports. So that was very much my path. And um, I was in Detroit after graduating, and I did that job for a little while. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was thinking, okay, well, what's next? And I looked around and all of the jobs were automotive. Of course, being in Detroit, and I grew up in an auto family. My father worked his entire career at Ford Motor Company, 37 years. So I saw a job posting for an agency side role in automotive, and I made that jump there and I loved it. And I saw what my clients were doing across the table, and I said, that's what I want to do. So within probably 2 years of college, I kind of was pretty zeroed in on I wanted to be an automotive marketer and I wanted to be on the client side, which that's what took me to business school and into my auto career where it started. So yeah, that first year or so after graduation, not at all what I thought I was going to do, but didn't take very long to find my passion.
Yeah, and so you as I said, you stuck with automotive for a
Yeah.
number of positions, and then went to Meta. Was this just
Yes.
to see what else was out there besides automotive, or
Yeah,
talk about how that happened?
definitely. So I pretty much thought I would be spending the rest of my career in automotive, but I had a moment where I was mid-career, maybe mid-career plus a little bit. And I looked back and I thought, gosh, this is all I've done and all I've known. And I'd had the wonderful opportunity to rotate through many different functions within automotive, but it had always been in automotive. And at the time it was Facebook. I got a call one day from a recruiter at Facebook, and they were looking for somebody to lead their global product marketing for the automotive vertical.
Mhm.
And it had not occurred to me before. And the global automotive for Facebook is ad products that are focused on the specific needs of OEMs and dealers. And I thought, gosh, what a wonderful way to leverage the experience that I had as an OEM side marketer and strategist, but try a new industry as well. So that was another one of those where I was like, wow, this is completely different. I'm going to do it. And I did it. And boy, oh boy, it was difficult. I learned a whole new language. It was very humbling to go from the auto industry where we all tend to look at auto as just the most important industry in the world, and it's the biggest purchase you'll make beside your home. And what could be more glamorous and wonderful than working on automobiles? And we drive the world's economy to tech, where it was just a teeny tiny portion of the overall business plan for a tech company. So it was really great. I learned a lot about tech. I learned a lot about newer business models and sort of where automotive fits into the bigger picture. I missed it when I was there. I missed maybe part of it was just missed kind of knowing the industry well and being a source of answers rather than a source of questions. But I really look at that as a pivotal point in my career because it enabled me, and it was really a gift that they invested in me to bring someone from outside of tech and bring me in-house and enable me to share my knowledge of our business and to learn tech and social media and work with, quite frankly, some of the most brilliant and kind people I've ever worked with. So it was, I look back on that time really fondly, a little bit melancholy. I miss it sometimes, but I know that I'm able to add probably more value here now than I would have had I not had that role.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, as you say, you learned a lot there. Do you feel like that's made you better with your
Yeah.
doing now for Kia?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how can it not, right? It gave me the perspective of a whole new industry. I also had the opportunity to learn about other industries. So, I learned a lot about e-commerce and retail and CPG and entertainment and how other industries approach their marketing, particularly their digital marketing. So that gave me a little bit more perspective on what other industries do differently that may not be quite as endemic to our industry. So yeah, I think it definitely made me a better marketer. I think it made me a better manager. I think it made me a better colleague just because it broadened my aperture a little bit and helped me see the world beyond automotive.
Well, and also maybe being put in a position where you don't necessarily know everything. And you're like, so now when you have
Yeah,
people who don't know everything, maybe you are a little different. Not that you were not nice to them, but I'm just saying, like, you've been
yeah,
in that situation where you're kind of trying to learn your way around. So maybe it gave you
yeah,
a way to then respond to people around you who are having to do that. So, I mean,
definitely. Oh gosh, we've just recently too, we've hired some folks from outside the industry to do more specialized roles like marketing science and CSR. And I try to be really conscious of the fact that they didn't grow up in this industry. And the biggest thing, I think everybody will attest to this, it's the acronyms, right? Am I right? It's the acronyms. And we speak in acronyms so much. So always stopping and saying, checking for understanding, right? If people are spouting out acronyms, can we please spell those out? Can we please not assume everybody knows them? And I do like to check for understanding and it's hard specifically when, or particularly when you're either newer at a company or newer in your career, it's really difficult to raise your hand and say, hey, what does that mean? Or I don't know what that is. So one of the things I try to do is do that and make that a safe space and not necessarily call anyone out, but say, hey, does everybody know what this is? Can we explain it a little bit more? But yeah, it's because it's brave for people to come into this industry in particular with, not the experience. It's not quite like anything else.
yeah, no, it's a different perspective. And
Yes.
talking about coming into this industry and as a woman, I mean, I know it's changed a lot. I see so many women like yourself in senior positions at automotive companies, but it has always been and it still is a bit more male dominated. And I'm not saying it's a good old boys, but there can be some of that. So if you're just graduating, a young woman wanting to, get into the automotive industry or wanting to achieve to a position like yourself, what would be the best advice you would give that person?
Really good question. And yes, it is still a challenge. I've been in this business for almost 30 years and it's not the improvements that I've seen in terms of having more women at the table, so to speak. It hasn't been linear. It's been, I've seen certain times where it's increased and then it's come down again and then it's increased, but it continues to be a challenge. And I think the advice that I would give, well, the advice I would give young women is to take a seat at the table. In the words of Sheryl Sandberg, I think that is a very small thing that can have a huge impact. You deserve, if you're in the room, you deserve a seat at the table and to listen and to learn and to identify advocates, find the people around you who are willing to advocate for you, ask questions. And if you're not comfortable in the room asking questions, write them down, find your trusted advocate after, and learn as much as you can, listen as much as you can, and remind yourself that you deserve to be there. Have a seat at that table.
Yeah, no. What about speaking up? Like in terms of, and I'm not saying you don't just keep speaking just to have your voice be heard because then you offer no value. But
Yeah.
is something that's intimidating when you are younger, when you're newer to a company, but also at a younger age or just starting out, say in the industry. Um, is there a fine line? Like, what do you suggest for that? Because you do want to be seen.
Yeah, that there is a fine line and it's a tough one. And I have to admit, for the first several years of my career, the most consistent piece of feedback that I got was you need to speak up more. And it's ironic because now I probably get the most consistent piece of feedback I get is probably the opposite, as you get more comfortable. But I think there is a fine line. And I think that, not feeling the need to speak just for the sake of having a voice, but when you actually have something to say. And in the early years of your career, the most important thing you can do is learn and ask questions. So when in doubt, if you want your voice to be heard, ask a good question. And all questions are good questions. If you don't know the answer, and again, if you're not comfortable in a large setting, find a smaller group setting and have that voice heard. And then next time you'll be prepared. I think that people that try to talk just to be heard, that rarely works when you're earlier in your career. I think that, learning and becoming confident in your voice is the most critical thing.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like we all know people who just like to hear themselves talk. And
Yes.
but I do think that if you have an idea or a good, as you said, a good question, like sometimes you feel like you need to offer something up, like I need to offer value by saying, this is how you can solve that challenge, or this is what you need to do. But a question can be just as needed in a
Yes.
situation. It can make people think, it can maybe, or if you have that question, maybe that it's not being explained well enough or whatever it may be. So I like that you put it as you can have it be a good question, not only just a solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's a question that's nobody has thought of, or whether it's a checking for understanding. Am I understanding this correctly? And then it helps open that door for teaching and discussion. I found that a lot of times a really well asked question can kind of diffuse tension as well and get more of a conversation if one person is dominating the airtime, so to speak. So yeah.
And it takes that one person. I know, just doing the summits, you'll always open up the questions to the room, and it just takes that one person asking a question, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
all you have to go up. But initially
Yeah.
everyone just there because you don't want to be the first. And so
Yeah.
yes, you need that brave person to start it off.
Mhm.
I think then, as you
Mhm.
said, it does contribute and get everyone else talking and feeling more relaxed.
Yeah,
So
but also finding the advocates. I mean, that is one thing that I try to do is ask people, do you have any questions? Does that make sense? Do you have anything? Because when you open that door for someone to do it, especially a more junior person or someone who's not quite as experienced, it gives them that permission. So it's incumbent upon us as leaders and managers to help enable those conversations and that visibility and that sharing of voice as well.
yeah, no, I agree. But I also think, like you said earlier, to seek them out, to seek someone like yourself
Mhm.
out, someone who can be your ally and maybe be your mentor, or in some capacity help you along the way, or at least guide you a bit.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, I want to turn a little fun-ish kind of thing. So,
Okay.
and I like to pull from the brand, but just in a different way. So, Kia, you guys recently announced that you have the TikTok car configurator. So
Hmm.
that is someone, like, you can design your car. So this can be the interior, this can be my color of the car, whatever. You can design your full car, and that way see what it looks like before wanting to purchase it. And
Yep.
that's the plan. So I want to turn it on to you to be
Okay.
configurator for a few different things. So my first one is, how would you design your ideal relaxing afternoon configurator?
Oh, a relaxing afternoon. Oh, it has to involve some sunshine and sitting outside. There's nothing I love more. It's why I moved from Detroit to Southern California. And then it would probably also involve a good book or a good podcast and a really fantastic cup of coffee and just the hours stretched out in front of me to calm my mind and be entertained and sit in the sun with sunscreen on, of course.
Of course, especially being blonde, you need to.
That's
I,
right.
I'm the only person who leaves whiter from the beach than I
Yes, yes.
like. I'm all about the sunscreen. Okay.
Yeah.
Your ideal work day configurator.
Workday configurator. I think a good workday has a blend of a few different things. First of all, not too many meetings, the correct balance of collaboration and thought time and work time. It involves a blend of creativity and analytics, insights. So being able to kind of come together in a collaborative way and both be creative and be use data or analytics to tell stories and have insights. And I think leaving the office feeling energized and fulfilled and happy with the way the day went. Again, yeah, I think it's just this blend of things, collaboration and work and thought and rest and laughter. I think that's another one. Too often we're just working so hard and rushing from meeting to meeting. We don't always take the time to laugh and have fun and enjoy the extraordinary company of our colleagues. So yeah, I think my ideal workday would look a little something like that.
When you say leave fulfilled, like what, and I mean, obviously you had a positive, like sales are up or numbers are, I'm not looking for that, but
Yeah.
more simply, make you fulfilled from the workday.
Yeah, fulfillment is a huge priority for me. So I often measure my level of contentment or happiness as it relates to fulfillment. And to me, I think it's different for everybody. But to me, it means that I added value to the organization, to the company. It means that I left the building not feeling completely drained. And that I feel like my work and the work of my team is being valued and making a positive difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we're not spinning our wheels. Fulfillment is we're moving forward, even if it's at a different pace than it was the day before or the next day. We're adding value.
Have a positive impact. No, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last configurator that we're going to create, best day ever.
Ooh, oh my gosh. So I talked about travel. I do love to travel. I think some of the best days I've ever spent are in Italy. So I'm going to take myself to Italy. Probably in particular, and this would change maybe if you asked me tomorrow, but today I would love to be in the Cinque Terre, um, sitting with friends at a cafe after a day of hiking through the Cinque Terre, and maybe sipping an Aperol spritz and just enjoying great company.
That sounds
That
awesome.
sounds, yes, that sounds delightful to me today.
I know it does actually. I loved all those movies when you had all the groups hanging out and the friends and the people and just all coming together. Like to me, I feel the same way. Like I just sharing that kind of time together, doing,
Yeah,
I remember when I lived in Manhattan Beach, would just all get together and play volleyball and then hang out and maybe have a cookout. It just,
yeah,
it's just it's nice. I enjoy those kind of things. So
the
I,
best days.
so I didn't have to fly off to Italy, but
Yes, one of the beautiful things about living in Southern California and the South Bay in particular is we can recreate that Mediterranean experience a little more easily than some other people across the country. So we're very blessed.
you're saying I would have loved to have, I didn't necessarily have the luxury of flying off to Italy.
Well, I'm not doing it every day or every week or
That
even
is,
every year, but try to get there once every couple of years or so.
no, I totally see that. Okay, I want to know what's something about you. Maybe it's small, you might even think it's inconsequential. It's something about you that others would be surprised to hear.
Oh, I'm a pretty open book. Let's see here.
They just don't know about you.
Pardon me?
Maybe they just don't know it about you. They
Oh, yeah.
do maybe you have a secret talent or something like something that you do on a regular basis. So
Oh, you know what? And my closest friends know this about me. I am a real estate junkie. I have wanted to own a home as long as I can remember. Even when I was a little kid, I loved, going to home shows and everything. So I bought my first home right after I graduated from business school. And since then, it's been a little over 20 years. I've bought and sold, I think, 8 or 9 different homes between Michigan and California. I just find, and I guess maybe it goes back to the change and liking being uncomfortable. Um, there's no topic I'd rather talk about than real estate and houses. And I just, I find it fascinating and really fun to be able to find the right home and make it my own, and then find another one and make that one my own. But I've been in my current home for about 4 years and I don't really want to leave. So again, maybe I'm
I was gonna say,
nearing
are
the
we,
end of my change era.
is a move coming up? Well, I'm curious. So you said you make it your own. Is that
Yeah.
the excitement of it? Like, or is
Yeah.
it the search and looking and finding? Do you look for something completely different? Like you had this kind of home, so now you want something very different, or do you have a certain style that you stick with? Like, I'm just curious what the motivation is that keeps you wanting to, find that new home.
Yeah, I think I do have a certain style that I tend to gravitate toward, but I think I'll buy a home and I don't do huge remodels, like complete tear downs or anything, but I like to do cosmetic updates. And then invariably I make a mistake or I do something I wished I'd done differently. So then I look for a new home where I can make my mark there. And I just love seeing the transformation. So once a transformation is done, I want to, give that to someone else and then do another one. So I think that's part of the motivation. And I love the process too of just looking. Zillow is my guilty pleasure. I say it's my Candy Crush. A lot of people, if they have a few down minutes or just need something mindless to do, they'll play a game. I get on Zillow and see what's out there.
Yeah, New York Times games. I like every single one.
Yes, that
Always
too.
that. But my sister's like that. Like she loves to just look at real estate. And to me, I'm like, unless I need it, like if I'm moving, then I don't want, like she'll like, I just tell her when I want to move and she finds me everything I need. And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I found a lot of people their houses. It's kind of a fun pastime of mine. If anyone's looking for a house, put me on the job. I'll do it
what
for
it
free.
for sure. Okay, my last question is, so we all, of course, have big goals and plans and, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. So I'm curious what your day goal is. Like what's a good day at the end of the day when you look back on it?
That is a good question. A good day is getting enough sleep. It is spending time with people I love. It is laughter and joy and a little bit of sunshine. It's that simple. A good food, a good meal, good glass of wine, and going to bed with a full heart and having things in perspective. There's so much stress in the world. I think almost everybody I know is under so much stress. If we can have those occasional days where we just focus on the good life and the good people around us, I think that's the most we can ask for. And those are the days that give me the most, again, fulfillment and the most satisfaction.
Yeah, I was gonna say totally. It's like when you were talking about your good day at work, like anything
Hmm.
like you. It's what you need to sustain yourself, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Filling up the tank.
Yes, well, that is awesome. And you obviously are doing it well because I think if you do it well in your personal life, you do it well in your business life, then it all works together. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Megan, I really appreciate you sharing with me like this. And I love that we got
Thanks,
to know
Lisa.
each other a little bit more.
Thank you, Lisa. I had a great time. It was wonderful to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Good. I'm glad. And thank you for watching. And please, as I said, if you have anyone, I always say, if you know anyone you want me to pull back the curtain on, any amazing woman like Megan, who marketer, please let me know and I will do my best to get them. So thanks again for watching and thanks, Megan.